Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
History remembers moments of extraordinary strength, skill, and determination. True greatness is forged by those who fulfill their destiny.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit PastTheWire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Hey, what do you say, everybody? Geo Sette back at you with Past the Wire. Today, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go over, give you a little Preakness 2023 recap, and give you some preliminary thoughts on the Grade 1 Real Test of Champions Belmont Stakes, which, since I'm taping this and it's the 31st of May, we are 11 days away from that big Saturday at Belmont Park, a race that I've embraced tremendously over the years. I've attended many times. Many great memories, and I've actually done very, very well in handicap and in providing an opportunity on the Belmont Stakes recent years and over a very lengthy period of time. But first, let's talk about the Preakness. When I did my initial analysis on the Preakness, of course, it was inclusive with First Mission, who eventually scratched. It was a big scratch because it changed how the whole pace scenario was going to unfold. It made it very, very clear and concise. Even though I still like the same horses, if you remember my initial video and analysis, I included First Mission because I was very high on the horse and everything that worked up leading to the race. But once he scratched, it was all about, to me, it was all about National Treasure and Blazing Sevens. I did not like Mage. In fact, I thought I was pretty convincing. I felt that Mage automatically would be an underlay. I did not like the 2 weeks of all he had in between with no workouts from his big Derby run. I knew he'd be a very, very short price. An underlay was inevitable. He should have been a grade of underlay. He should have been 3 to 5 in that field, and he was 7 to 5, which was a blessing for those that ended up siding with Mage. But I felt it in my bones, and I felt it after I did all my work, and even after I provided the update, that he would come up short. He would make his run in the stretch, but 220 less yards, only 2 weeks in between, sharper turns, and the field he was facing. All right? We knew Coffee with Chris had some speed, but it was cheaper speed, inferior speed. And National Treasure would have his own way. Breaking from the inside, blinkers on. I thought everybody felt it was inevitable that he was going to be on the lead, but what was going to be the pace involved? How slow was the pace going to be? Now, I was targeting somewhere in the area like a 47 low, maybe mid 47, at max 48. Ended up being 48.9. All right. And the horse I spoke tremendously of, Blazing Sevens, the way he was training leading to the race, I felt it in my bones that he would be the biggest threat to National Treasure. And he made some run. It was a gut-wrenching stretch run. Basically, those two for the final eighth, or if you want to call it the final quarter of the race, were all by themselves. And because of the tactical advantage or class advantage that Mage had and Red Route won, they ended up filling the triple and the superfecta. But let me talk a little about the extreme underlays in the race. And this is something that's entirely and essentially important when you're doing your handicapping. Yeah, everybody's going to take note of what the morning line is, but you, as a handicapper, you have to create that vision. You make your morning line, all right? This way you could determine, as it's getting close to post time, if you're dealing with underlays and overlays. Now, I could not believe the two-horse Chase the Chaos. I want to just take a look at my form there. How on earth? Now, if you listen to my initial analysis, I had the horse tabulated to be somewhere in the area of 100 to 1. No disrespect to the bonds, of course, but the whole time, throughout the whole 40 minutes in waiting, the horse was 7-1 on the board. 7-1. Believe he went off 9-1, just short of 10-1. So if I had him tabulated to be 100-1, based on film study and the statistical information I had and whatever version of speed ratings you use, think about the level of underlay he was. Okay? So you got the recreational gamblers and the people who use in numbers and playing names. They created a scenario where it was beneficial for the horses that you actually do like, and who figured more in the race, like National Treasure, Blazing Settings, Mage. But it created a wonderful exactor opportunity for us. And for those that had National Treasure on the win end, you were blessed with 5-2 odds, because that horse should have been bet down to 8-5, 9-5 as well. Created a nice opportunity for Blazing Sevens, who went off 9-2. And hence we got a $32 exacta, a nice score. It would have been wonderful for me if it was National Treasure Blazing Sevens with Red Route 1, who I used in my triples. I thought he would be good enough to even pass Mage, but ultimately he wasn't. But I can't, sometimes that's the beautiful thing about this game. On paper and through film study, the only scenario I saw finishing in that race was the horses that ran 1-2. It would have been fabulous if Blazing Sevens ended up passing him at the wire, but we all know about that gut-wrenching, crazy stretch run. And when you're 48-9 and, obviously National Treasure had that much left to, even though he was passed, inside the 16th pole, he dug down deep and got it done. So remember that. Very important, essentially important. Recognize the underlays and the overlays in a race, because sometimes it's just way out of whack. And wow, that Preakness field was super out of whack. Another horse that was overbet, all due respect to Shug McGahee, was Perform. But when you look at it, even though he pulled a rabbit out of the hat and ran a masterful race, the race prior to the Preakness, the horse had inferior numbers. So he was also an underlay. And it showed up on the track. Okay, there were 7 horses that ran. 3 horses belonged to be somewhere in the mix in deep stretch. One, the Red Route 1, son of Gunrunner, good rider. If he improved and if he had pace in front of him, he could have made his presence felt. And he made a run a little earlier, but it was 4th best. But wow, what a Preakness. All right, let's move on to some preliminary thoughts of the Belmont Stakes. By the way, if you Loyal readers of my column, you know that this is a race I've absolutely crushed the last 3 years. Going back to the COVID year, albeit at a mile and an eighth, I had Tiz the Law, sort of everybody else, but I was defiant on him winning. That was when the Belmont was run later on in the year during the COVID calamity, and it was at a shorter distance. But the last 2 years, just to give you a little flavor of that, Essential Quality and Hot Rod Charlie, Cold Exacta 2 years ago. And in that race, I knew there'd be a huge underlay. That was with Rock This World, who I knew didn't have the pedigree nor the stamina to finish race. And the public made him 4-1 or so. I threw him out, which put me in a position to have that cold, ice cold exacta of Essential Quality and Hot Rod Charlie. They basically were alone in the stretch for a full quarter of a mile, all right? 400 plus yards alone. That's a beautiful thing when you're playing exactas. And then last year, to the loyal readers and followers of Past the Wire, I gave you collectively our staff, even with John Stetton, he loved Mo Donegal as well. So I was decisive with Mo Donegal winner. I was decisive with Nest being second, the filly who ran a big race. And I was decisive with Skippy Longstocking being third. And it was a wonderful thing. Beautiful exacta and an ice-cold triple. Now, is it hard to be precise every year? Absolutely. I'm hoping to make it a 4-year run of being precise in the Belmont Stakes. So this year, very interesting, and stay tuned because I'm going to be providing you a video, full analysis of the race. It'll be released after the draw is done and I'm done with my handicap. I'm nowhere near done with my handicap because every race is a brand new story. I just want to let you guys know that I apply myself thoroughly. Extensive film study. Pedigree is very important as well because year after year after year, pedigree is... Just look at the history of the winners. I mean, I go back decades, but recent scores, Union Rags and Palace Malice back-to-back early, in 2012 and 2013. I did short American Pharaoh at the time. I wasn't on him. I felt like even though he was a wonderfully talented horse, I didn't think he was going to win the Triple Crown. And I did the same for Justify, because Justify never ran as a juvenile, and to be honest with you, I was out to beat Justify, and it didn't work out. But recently, the last few years, wow. But this year, okay, nice field. Now, I have horses who I feel are almost a sure thing to go. The two from Brad Cox, Angel of Empire and Hit Show. Two hard-hitting, strong colts. I feel they're going to be to be reckoned with in the Belmont Stakes. Like I said, this is not in any way, shape, or form an analysis of the race. I'm just giving you who I feel are almost certain starters. Forte coming back. We all know he was a late scratch in a Kentucky Derby. Don't forget he was the 2-year-old champ. Don't forget he was 6 for 7 and trained very, very well. He should be ready to go on Belmont Stakes Day. And from the same barn, you won't see King's Barns. He's not going to go from the Pletcher barn, but you will see Tapit Trice. Now, Tapit Trice, again, if you're a loyal follower of Past the Wire and everything I share, I've been in Tapit Trice's corner since before the year started, okay? He came into the Kentucky Derby on a 4-race win streak. We can't define why, but he was absolute no-show in the Kentucky Derby. Was it Churchill Downs? Was it, he's an animal. They're not robots. He just never fired. He had the right rider. He had progression. Leading to the race, he was he's shown to be a fighter. You need a fighter in the Kentucky Derby. He just never made his run. That's why I said to many folks, it didn't make sense to me to side with a horse like Mage, who had no juvenile campaign, much fewer races, even though he ran very well in the Florida Derby. It didn't make sense if you were going to take a horse to make that type of move and to be a fighter in a stretch and to have a big run after the 8th pole. It was going to be Tapit Trice, but he never fired. But Tapit Trice, he's training well. He will make his presence felt at the Belmont Stakes. So he's going to be a major part of my handicap. Much respect for National Treasure, who will be back at the Belmont, who won the Preakness on the front end. I think there was a combination of him digging down deep and having a lot of horse, and the fact that he was the beneficiary of a pedestrian half mile at just about 50 at 49.8. But that horse is training well. He'll be in the Belmont Stakes. Red Route 1, the son of Gunrunner, Stephen Asmussen. I feel that horse, not just because he's getting more distance in the Belmont Stakes, because that's not always the case, but the running style, if he has some pace, he can make his presence felt at the Belmont Stakes. Who else we got going? For the most part, that group, Brad Cox's 2 horses, Todd Pletcher's 2 horses, and Asmussen's horse. I have to do the race, not disrespecting Bob Baffert at all, because National Treasure will be in it to win it. I got to figure out the entire pace scenario. I don't think it's going to be as pedestrian as it was in the Preakness. You're not going to get a crazy fast first quarter or first half. Otherwise, it will be suicidal in the Belmont Stakes. But just giving you a little flavor. We should have a field of 10 or 11. I didn't want to get into some of the other horses who I felt could be entered. The ones I mentioned are likely to be starters at the Belmont Stakes. So keep in mind what I said for future reference. Make your own morning line. Paint the picture. Do your film study. I'm here to help you. But don't let the public change your mind. Understand the importance of value with an overlay. And understand the importance when a horse is drastically overbet. Like I mentioned to you 2 years ago in the Belmont, Essential Quality, Hot Rod Charlie gave me a fabulous opportunity for an exacta because I shorted Rock This World, who I knew in my blood and bones would not finish the race, and he was bet down to inside 5-1. It may happen again this year. All right? Be thorough. Take it all in and be decisive. So thank you for listening. I look forward to providing a very detailed analysis for the Belmont Stakes. And if you stay with me, I'll do the same for another race I've crushed many times in recent years, not to mention over the past couple decades. The Haskell Stakes at Monmouth Park. I will be there in attendance this year. And then when we get to Saratoga, the Travers, the Whitney, the Alabama, the Jim Dandy, Jockey Club Gold Cup, everything that's going to lead us to our Breeders' Cup Championship Series in November. So thank you for listening. Please like us or comment when you can. Absorb everything I'm sharing. I appreciate everything that you guys provide in terms of your questions and comments. And let's go make some money. That's getting exciting. I just knocked out my lighting. Talk to you guys real soon. You stay well, and I'll see you next week for the Belmont Stakes analysis.
Florida Derby. After 3/4 in 112-1, Known Agenda is now on to take over the lead. It's Known Agenda for St. Elias Stable. Florida Derby winner, Known Agenda.
Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Nobody does it better.